Okay, so our last game of the day is going to be a TVZ. It's going to be last versus Jaedong. So this is going to be on Gold Rush once again. We're going to be able to see how Gold Rush works in TVZ. So this has been really interesting. I've had a lot of conversations with Flash for the Win about Gold Rush as well and how ZVT is supposed to work on here. It's actually really cool because what we see a lot from Jaedong, this kind of new style strategy that he's created, which is where he goes for a very fast third base in an aggressive location right next to the Terran army, and basically dares his opponent. Says basically, all right, with your first couple of units, with your first Marine medic push, I dare you to just go ahead and push into that base, kill off my third base. That's fine, just go ahead and do it. Because if you do that, I'm going to send a huge Ling counterattack over to your natural and completely sack that. And it'll be 2 bases versus 1, so favor in the Zerg's favor. However, we haven't necessarily seen that too much working. It worked for Jaedong, the win game that he played in the ASL, but we haven't really seen it too much since then. We've seen it a little bit on stream. Zerg players still trying to figure out exactly how to play this map. I think there's a lot of fun things that you can do with this map, with the way that the expansions are laid out, the Zerg players really aren't taking advantage of. Stuff like that, stuff like taking a backdoor expansion and just forcing your opponent to react to it is really, really cool strategy on this map. But it looks like Jaedong is going to be going for that 12 hatch. He's going to be going for a very early economic build. Same thing is going to be coming out from last as well. Although he did go for a bit of a proxy barracks early on, so we might see a little bit of pressure coming out from him against Jaedong, but Jaedong is very good at holding bunker rushes, so if this does turn into a bunker rush, which it probably most likely inevitably will, then Jaedong is going to be okay, although he did play a little bit greedy on that pool. It's going to be coming out a little bit later than he would have liked, and he actually managed to scout out that proxy barracks really early on, so it's just going to start working away at some of these SCVs, try to get the health as low as possible while keeping his drone alive. And he's actually just pulling everything from his main right now. Going to leave only 3 drones over there to actually defend. Wasn't able to get the drone drill off, which is a bit unfortunate. Drone drill just makes this a lot easier to actually defend. However, he is going to start working on this bunker, start killing it off, so this is pretty much held for him right now. Managed to kill off the bunker right before it finished, and as long as he just screens out here until he has Zerglings out, he's going to be just fine. Not really a big deal. Meanwhile, Last going to go ahead and lift up his racks. That is a full wall off there if you go depot with the barracks down at the bottom. Makes your life a little bit easier. However, it looks like Last is actually just going to continue with this pressure. He is not ready to give up, and Jaedong is going to have to come in here and start sniping off a lot of these units. He's got to be really careful about how he approaches this, make sure that the drones don't die off too easily. Does get a very nice surround on top of all of these Marines, but loses a ton of drones in the process, and already this has been well worth it for Last doing so much damage right now, but he does need to get 1 Marine behind that wall. If he doesn't get a Marine behind that wall in time, then he's going to be in a lot of trouble. The units running out across the map does manage to get the Marine back there, so he's going to be safe for now. This is a moment where he definitely could have just straight up lost the game, but with Master Pair, it's easy to actually keep this alive without too many problems, and that 1 egg is actually going to allow that worker to actually get back home. Jaedong is going to do a little bit of a Q thing where he just sits here and attacks the supply depot, forces his opponent to repair it, and just pulls away whenever the Zerglings get weak. So, doesn't look like he did the greatest job there of keeping all the Zerglings alive, but either way, still doing a fantastic job of putting the pressure back on Last and forcing a response. Meanwhile, it's going to be a fast gas coming up off of only 2 hatches, so looks like we definitely could see the return of the 2-hatch Muta, which has always been Jaedong's specialty. It's always been what he's very comfortable with, and it makes a lot of sense to go after that, considering your opponent did a failed, I wouldn't even call it a failed bunker rush, but a bunker rush. You know your opponent might be going for a lot of early pressure to follow up with a faster gas, so, but they won't have a lot of Marines out, so if you go ahead and go for the 2-hatch Muta, you get a lot of pressure out on the map before your opponent really has a lot to counter it. And you still get the free third base behind it because, hey, this is Gold Rush. So far, just trying to chase down this SCV, get as much scatting done as possible. Only 4 or 5 Marines out for last right now, so this is still a pretty good spot to be in if you're the Zerg player. Third base going down as well for Jaedong. He's going to be a fantastic spot, but looks like he lost this SCV a bit. Going to finally be able to find it again. Got to make sure that he pays a little bit more attention to his micro. Doesn't let this SCV just kind of pull him around for free. Second gas going down. The second gas is a little bit late for Mutalis's play. He might actually end up going for the Hydralisk instead. I haven't really been able to get a good glimpse of his main base, but we'll find out soon enough. Meanwhile, first medics are out for last. Going to be able to actually push out across the map very, very early on. This is what happens when you kill off a lot of drones early on. Is the gases come down a little bit later. The tech comes down a little bit later for the Zerg player, and because they have to rebuild all those extra drones, so it's a little bit painful. But with 2 Sunkens, this should be easily defendable for Jaedong. Meanwhile, actually a very fast factory coming down off of only 2 or 3 barracks for last. So last taking up very, very quickly. It looks like maybe he scouted out lurkers and decided to just go ahead and go to something else instead. But actually, it does look like it is going to be Mutas. Well, we'll see when that building comes up soon. It looks like Mutas, but I could be wrong. Zerglings coming in behind, gonna try to sandwich these units. Is it gonna be enough though? Last is coming in here right now. He's gonna try to go in for the kill, but these units coming in from behind gonna be able to sandwich and maybe kill off the rest of these units. But so far, this has just been immaculate micro coming out from Last. He's actually just gonna run by the Sunken before the second Sunken finishes, and with 3 Marines and a medic block, this is gonna be pretty much impossible to deal with for Jaedong. As long as he gets a good medic block off, he can basically hold this area hostage basically forever. It's so hard to actually deal with those medics because they have so much health. And now that the Spire is done, is there going to be anything up in time? Does it look like there is? Last actually building a bunker, thinking that maybe Jaedong might go for a YOLO counterattack, but that is not the case. Jaedong is just trying to desperately clean this out. He's not quite able to actually kill it. It loses the Spire in the process. This medic block just too strong. Gotta finally kill off both the medics, but these 2 Marines still doing damage. And losing important tech like that, this is just an uphill battle for Jaedong. Now down to 38 supply. This game is essentially over. I can't imagine Jaedong actually getting back into this game, but I think he's gonna try it. Nonetheless, he is continuing to play out the game. If there's any consolation, it's that he still has this third base. Normally, at this point in the game, if you lose your tech, if you lose a bunch of drones, you just lose the game because you can't protect your third base. But because this is Gold Rush and your third base is kind of naturally protected as an island base, Jaedong might be able to stay in this for a little bit longer, but he's definitely fallen behind. He's got to be able to get some return damage with these meals. He's got to be able to start teching up to that hive tech as soon as possible, make sure that he doesn't lose too much, because so far this has been pretty devastating for him. We have double starports down now for Last. It looks like he's actually going to be going up to 4 or 5 barracks, so definitely going into that SK Terran style a little bit faster than normal. Going to allow him to have drops up before Flash is really ready, or sorry, before Jaedong is really ready to deal with it. But the hive is on the way. Lurker's probably coming in very shortly. Flash, or oh my gosh, why do I keep saying Flash? Jaedong is having a little bit of difficulty actually getting much done with these Mutalisks, so he's actually just going to cut at only 6. This is an interesting play to make, but when you're this far down, it's really more important just to go ahead and get those Lurkers up. Go ahead and make sure that you have what you need to defend versus the next big push. All he has to do is defend this natural, and he's in okay shape. The Lurkers are just overworking, and a push is coming out across the map. He's trying to keep these units kind of accountable by having those mules out in the center of the map, but he's got to be really careful. He's got to make sure that he has the units up in time. Push coming out across the map now for last. Is it going to get to Jaedong's natural in time? Jaedong doing a good job of sniping off a few units here and there. Finally, the Lurkers are up, though. They're going to be able to get in a nice position. Defiler's coming up now as well. Looks like he actually put down double Defiler. We'll have to see if that was the case. Looks like, no, it was just one Defiler mound. So, Defiler mound's coming out. First two Science Vessels are out. For last, going to allow him to start pushing in very heavily right now. He's going to have that irradiate, going to be able to kill off at least two of those Lurkers immediately. And Jaedong really needs to go ahead and get a couple of other units out before he can actually defend properly. He does have these 3 bases up and running, though, pretty nicely. So overall, Jaedong has cut just enough corners to actually get himself back into this game, but he's still 30 supply down from the Terran opponent. He has to do a better job of getting more units out here, or else he's just going to die instantly. Knight's Cal coming down as well. To reinforce that 3rd base when the inevitable drops come in. Right now, Jaedong is just waiting for either a big push or a big push coupled with drops. He's going to have to start adding on Scourge pretty soon as well to deal with these drops. Drops coming out across the map right now. Looks like they are planning on potentially going straight into that 3rd base after loading up with some of the units over here. Actually, it's just going to go straight into the main. This is going to be crazy. Actually going for the D-Matrixes. Going to make sure they don't get sniped, so Jaedong has to deal with this pressure in his main, and this can be very difficult to deal with. But does manage to kill off a couple of units for free. The Scourge do come in, manage to snipe one of the Science Vessels, not all of them, but overall this is a very good defense from Jaedong, doing a really fantastic job, unless maybe going a little overboard with those D-Matrixes on the dropships that early on. If you're going for a 4 dropship drop, maybe, but 2 dropships might be a little bit too much. Meanwhile, trying to go for a drop over here in the 3rd base, but there are Lings in position, going to be able to get on top of these units right away. Is it going to be enough, though? Where's the Dark Swarm? No Dark Swarm coming down quite yet, but the Lurkers have done their job quite well. Going to be able to kill off all of those units, and this has been a fantastic defense by Jaedong. He's actually going to look for killing off the rest of these units, so very nicely done by Jaedong, actually killing off all of that, plus getting those units on the way out with Scourge. So Jaedong feeling a little bit more comfortable, but Last does have a 3rd base up right now. Jaedong really does need to be looking towards getting a 3rd base relatively soon. If he doesn't have a 4th base relatively soon, doesn't have a 4th base, then he won't have the gas that he really needs to get up to those ultras, get up to that scary time late game army. He's really going to need a little bit more for that. Meanwhile, it looks like Last is already potentially preparing for the mech transition at some point. He is adding on a few more barracks, so it looks like it's going to be a bit more pressure on the ground, but eventually it will go away. This one drone looking for the potential 4th base, but it's going to be denied by that Marine, which is a little bit annoying. So it's going to have to send a couple of units over there to actually take this down. Going to be able to catch a dropship in the process, so this is a nice small thing for him. Does manage to kill off the dropship, but it's not going to be enough to actually secure this base quite yet. He's trying to get over here before this base, or before that last assimilator goes down. It looks like he is going to actually be able to do that. Going to be able to clean up the rest of this force over here and start establishing his 4th base really close to Last. Again, this is another one of those bait bases where you take a 4th base very close to your opponent and say, I dare you, go ahead and drop over there, and then the rest of the map is much weaker. Good Dark Storm coming down from Jaedong in his natural, going to be able to push this back for now. The Zerglings really starting to ramp up now with those Adrena glands, and the upgrade is going to be able to trade actually pretty efficiently with this bio, but as soon as the mech starts coming in, then it's going to get really, really hard to actually hold this off. Still, though, it looks like Last is comfortable going for this bio right now, although he has stopped production momentarily. We'll see if that's just to get up an extra base or if he was just a little bit late on it. Looks like he was just a little bit late. Meanwhile, Jaedong pushing out of his base now with a lot of Lurker Ling. This is actually a scary amount, and a couple of Scourge as well. Going to be able to snipe off a couple of those units. Meanwhile, it looks like a big drop is going to be coming into his main. Is he going to have units in position to actually deal with it? He saw it on the minimap, I believe, so he should know that it's coming. But wow, this micro from last has been absolutely insane. He's managed to kill off so many lurkers with that one Bioforce, so many lings with it. And so that was actually a fantastic defense coming out from last. We'll be able to see if Jaedong's next push will be able to push a little bit further, or if he's just going to be stuck out here on the center of the map. Does manage to kill off those two assemblators, so he's feeling pretty safe with this this fourth base over in the 3 o'clock position. He's just got to make sure it doesn't get dropped at this point. It's in such close dropping proximity that it's a very real possibility that it gets dropped and he just straight up loses. However, he does have those overlords in position, going to have a pretty good heads up if that does come out. Going to try to push in right now. He's trying to kill off these eggs quickly before these simulators can be killed off. If he can get back in here with a couple of lurkers, he might be able to get do some damage, but the assimilator dies just in time. Lurkers are large units. They can't fit through that area if one of the assimilators is down. So doing a good job overall, but now the fire bats are out and these lings are going to be much weaker versus these bioforces. As good as lings are, they're just not quite good enough versus the fire bats. Fire bats have +1 armor by default and they do the splash, so it's pretty ugly. It can be pretty brutal. Big drop coming in here to the 4th base. Is Jaedong actually going to be able to clean it up? He's got a lot of units on top of these units as they're dropping out, but that one fire bat just doing work. Going to be able to kill off a ton of units for free. Going to send a couple more units up there to try to clean it up, but he's ended up wasting a lot of Zerglings on that. Meanwhile, big attack coming out through the center of the map. Not a whole lot here so far. Looks like it's just going to look for the money plague. Wasn't really all that good. Only caught a couple of units. Second one, not all that great either. So, not the best plagues in the world, but however, it doesn't matter too much because as long as you're getting some on there, on the bio, it does run the medics out of mana. It does force them to continually heal instead of actually saving all their mana for when it matters. So, Jaedong doing a really good job of just going ahead and shoring up all of his bases. Last, though, has done a really fantastic job of splitting the map. He's got tons of map control right now. But he's comfortable with just sticking to this Bioforce right now. He's not even worrying about going into the late game mech. He feels that Bio is just good enough for this right now. This is actually a real treat to see because the drop play will continue to come down. This is the kind of the theme we've been seeing so far today with Gold Rush. The drop play will continue to come for both of these players as the game goes on. I'd like to see some Overlord drops coming out from Jaedong. This is typically how he likes to go ahead and play into his late game ZVT, as he likes getting Overlord drops, going for Ling, Lurker, Defiler drops, but in this particular case, looks like he's playing just safe, just trying to make sure that he gets back into this game. Another double drop going to be coming into this 3rd base. Is Jaedong going to be prepared? He did manage to pick off one of the dropships before it got any serious damage done, but there's still a lot of units out here, and it's still going to be quite difficult to actually clean up cost efficiently. He's going to have to send some units over here, but he might end up actually just losing to this frontal push at the front as well, and maybe even losing a spawning pool. If he loses a spawning pool right now, that could be disastrous, but it looks like he is going to be able to save it for right now. Whew, that was a very scary moment. Losing a spawning pool at this particular point in time would actually just be game over for him. However, he's going to be able to get a good jump on the gun there for Last. Going to be able to get out of there before all of his units get plagued. So, amazing split coming out from him. The Ultra's Cavern is down for right now. I don't know what the upgrades are at, but hopefully we'll be seeing those Ultras come out pretty soon. Ultras are really the answer to this SK Terran style. You get 1 or 2 Ultras in your army, it becomes much harder to actually do much as the Terran player. However, the plays have been very efficient at draining all the mana from all of these medics, so it has been pretty nice. He's got 1 Mulus out right now. Just going to try to pick off a few of these science vessels. Oh my god, actually picks off quite a few with just that 1 Mulus, so very nicely done. Going to have to get his lurkers over here to actually defend that base. He's really trying to get up this 5th base, but Last has just been relentless at the aggression with the drops, not allowing him to actually get it up. But with the Ultras now, there's a very real chance he could definitely get that up, maybe even win the game. We'll see if the micro is good from Last, if he can hold this off. But these two science vessels with 0 health left gonna come over here, do their last duty, kill that off. But it's not gonna be long before they get torn out of this world. Last trying to hold on, but here come the ultras, and the ultras are so scary. They still don't have that speed upgrade, so it's gonna take them a while to catch up. And it's mostly up to the Lings to do all the damage. However, a couple tanks sitting over there at the natural gonna be able to get on top of this, do quite a bit of damage. Here comes the first swarm. Very excellent swarm coming down right now. Gonna be able to allow these units to push forward. But so far the Irradiates have done really, really well. And does Jaedong actually have enough? He sees the tanks now, so he's actually just gonna back up. I think that's a very smart play at this particular moment in time. Just gonna wait for his speed to kick in and just kill off some of these bases over here instead. This is the point in time where you really want to start investing into drops as a Zerg player and start getting up into the later stages of the game. Gonna be able to kill off a lot of SCVs as they're fleeing over here. This one Mutalisk being able to kill off another Science Vessel, so very nicely done by Jaedong, and he's gonna actually double expand behind this so that he has enough units to continue out through the rest of the game. This has been a very fantastic defense overall from Jaedong. Last playing a little bit sloppy at times, maybe transitioning into the mech a little bit late, but he still is doing a pretty decent job overall. Unfortunately, it looks like no plague. Oh, I take that back. There's the plague. Beautiful stuff. Gonna come down on top of all those medics. Those are gonna be so easy to kill off later on in the game. And Jaedong has just been relentless about building a handful of mutas here and there to always make sure that he has something in position. Oh my gosh, this has actually been a really beautiful game by Flash. Still no Overlord speed though. I'd like to see Overlord speed and drops come in pretty soon so that he can go ahead and transition into the later parts of the game. But now that the tanks are out, now that the big mech army is starting to come to fruition, Jaedong really has to start looking for ways to break this other than just running his units over there. It's not going to be enough for now. Has to cancel that base, unfortunately. But might be able to pick off this dropship as it's trying to come into some of his other bases. Not able to find it so far. The dropship's still kind of eluding him, just barely. But he is going to slowly start to take his entire side of the map while Last takes his. Will Last actually be able to get up to that split map position, though? He's got a lot of tanks, almost none of those vultures out yet so far. So surprisingly, we haven't really seen the full mech transition yet. It's just kind of been a semi-mech transition, just kind of Marine tank style with more and more dropships. Eventually, I suppose he'll transition out of this, but this has just been so far a pretty relaxed state of mind for Last as he's just slowly moving on across the map, even adding on a battle cruiser right now. One of those things that's very difficult to actually deal with as a Zerg player because you have to spend a lot of gas to kill it with Scourge, and Plague is really the only decent way to actually get rid of it. These two Storms actually did a fantastic job of holding off the center of the map for quite a while, but Jaedong really needs to be headed towards max pretty soon. He needs to make sure that he has tons and tons of units. Last, however, has been keeping up the pressure. Last is still maxed, and with more drop pressure coming out across the map, this could be very difficult to deal with. There's so many tanks on the center of the map. However, Last somehow finding a hole in the defenses of Jaedong. How is this even possible? Jaedong is going to have to pull back all of his units to survive here, but unfortunately losing his units not in the greatest way. He's going to be able to lose that base as well, so a bit unfortunate that he ended up losing that. Not going to be able to kill off all those units. The wow, the battle cruisers coming in here right now, as well as tons of units being dropped over here. This is so difficult to deal with right now. The static defense is going to be able to hold this base for a little bit longer. Going to allow that one ultra to clean up pretty nicely, but still, this has been very, very brutal. At the same time, another drop, that one drop was able to clean up quite a bit while that frontal push also killed off that base. Jaedong really struggling to stay into this game. He's got to rebuild a lot of those drones. Even if he still has a few mining bases up, he's got to clean that up and start getting back up his economy in other ways. Continuing to flood units across the map, but they're kind of just going into a meat grinder at the moment over there in the bottom right-hand corner, being killed off by a lot of those Marines over there, but finally being able to clean up the remainder of those medics. And it looks like that's going to be pretty much the end of Last's bio army. It's just going to be pure tanks from now on, with a couple of Marine medic to support it. But as long as there is a good concave for Jaedong, he's going to be able to crush this. He's going in right now. He's going to try to get in on top of these tanks. So far, pretty good job. Going to be able to get on top of all the tanks in the back as well. But does he have enough? I don't know if he actually does. He's been able to do quite a bit of damage overall to the tank count and whittle it away, but he's lost quite a lot of ultras in the process. Is it going to be enough for him to get back into this game? He's still trailing under 100 supply. He's lost a lot of economy. And finally, we have the Overlord drops coming in. Going to be able to start doing lurker drops in different places, trying to go ahead and do some serious damage to his opponent's economy, but it might just be a little bit too late. He's trying desperately to go ahead and get some units out here to actually deal with the science vessel pressure, but this game has just kind of gotten sloppier and sloppier for Jaedong, as he hasn't really put up the rest of the bases that he should have been working on. So he's managed to force the liftoff over there, but these couple of Marines just randomly running in here are going to be able to kill off a couple of drones. No defense over there, no vision over there, and somehow it just seems like Last has this ability to find holes in Jaedong's defense. Going to be able to kill off this hatch. No, not quite, but I mean, that hatch is almost dead. You could breathe on it and it would die. Jaedong is out of gas right now. He hasn't had gas mining in so long that he's just in a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, drop coming in back to this base, going to be able to finish off that hatch. Going to be able to kill off the hatch over here on the other side as well. And this might just be a GG for Jaedong. He might just tap out any second now. The pressure has just been too crazy from Last. And look at Last. He's floating over 2,000 minerals. He is feeling absolutely confident right now. All of his gas just being poured into those tanks, and he can always just spend more and more minerals back onto those Marines, which do well in lean situations where gas is low for both players. This has been absolutely perfectly played by our Terran player Last, and Jaedong just keeps he's trying to get some sort of advantage, but just every single time he goes for it, it just hasn't been working out for him. Again, not staggering those units with his Lings. You need to send a couple Lings with those Scourge, otherwise they just die off instantly. And over, just losing more and more units. It is brutal right now for Jaedong. Gonna be sending just pure Lings versus tanks, hoping to maybe clean up some random units in the center of the map, but it's gonna take a lot more than that. Gonna try to maybe clean up some of those bio with those few lurkers he has left, but that's absolutely not going to work, and he is out of money. Jaedong desperately trying to re-expand, get some more gas up, but oh my gosh, it's just been so painful. It's been the slow starvation from Last, who's continually just destroyed his mining economy over and over and over. And even though these Lings are pretty cost efficient, going to be able to pick off even more tanks, I don't think it's going to be enough. There is just too much on the ground right now for Last. Last could honestly just A-move all of his tanks and be in a pretty decent spot versus these Lings. There just isn't much left for him. Another small group of units going to be able to terrorize that 3 o'clock base, and there's the GG. Man, DBZ is rough.